This presentation will be about celebrating seabirds. Well, the question I pose, seabirds, should we care? Let's hope I can answer it. Whoops. Working as an artist interpreting the natural world has meant spending considerable time in the field, observing, recording behaviours, details, as with these spotted shags. It can be a total immersive experience spending time with your subjects. Here, the shoreline of Tiri Tiri Matangi, pied shag drying its wings on a rocky beach, gulls overhead, white-fronted tern on a stack, and right at one's feet, a kakariki fossicking along the strand line, and of course, salt-tolerant plants of the coast. So for me, working predominantly now as an advocate and facilitator for seabird research and conservation, getting around islands comes naturally, although just hopping up on those steps reminded me about my next knee operation. Well, I've been fortunate through most of my career in natural history to have worked with scientists, some very talented scientists, from a wide range of fields, and appreciate the need for collaboration and sharing skills to achieve success with projects, something Andre has highlighted. Here is one of the many teams involved in the discovery of New Zealand storm petrels breeding on Hauturu, Little Barrier. And see in science a way of interpreting and understanding the world we share with many fascinating creatures and the environments they inhabit. These colourful scrawls are actually tracks of sooty shearwaters through a year, birds breeding in Aotearoa, New Zealand, migrating to the North Pacific, and then returning home to breed the following season. So seabirds, how special are they? There are some 10,400 species of birds worldwide. Oops. And of those 10,400 species, only 370 species are what we call seabirds. On a planet that's 71% ocean, that's a very, very select group indeed. Narrow that down, and of those 370 seabird species, 86 breed here in New Zealand. 36 are endemic. They breed nowhere else in the world. The country with the next highest number of endemic species is 5. So you can see Aotearoa is a global centre for seabirds. And it's easy to see why. Consider the submarine topography around our island chain. Add the flow of oceanic currents. This is NASA imagery showing chlorophyll A or phytoplankton concentrations, highlighting upwellings, convergence, and current zones. Our waters are extremely productive. This is some footage we've been doing out in the Gulf. This is a Trevally and Kauai school out north of Hauturu. These are fish feeding on krill. So it's easy to see why. So it's not surprising that seabirds have evolved to exploit this extraordinary resource. In this case, this is fairy prions and shearwaters feeding on the krill that the fish have brought to the surface. Well, here in New Zealand, northern New Zealand, we have a rich diversity of seabirds, a very special suite of species, 5 of which breed nowhere else in the world. I just realized when Andre's presentation that I forgot to update the number, because when Matt and I did the plan the first time around, we didn't know where the New Zealand storm petrel actually bred. Anyway, we have 5 which breed nowhere else in the world, including the New Zealand fairy tern, one in the picture here, our nation's rarest bird. So what sets seabirds apart are those special adaptations they have for lives at sea, and it's in the study of those, their behaviours and life histories that we can see just how special they are. For seabirds, being able to locate ephemeral food patches scattered over vast areas of ocean is key to their survival. For albatrosses, petrels, shearwaters, storm petrels, diving petrels, multiple senses come into play, and extraordinary, in particular, sight and smell, and that they have extraordinary physiologies. For gannets, also gulls and terns, keen eyesight is paramount, and a powerful bill on a body designed to dive. Seabirds can see clearly in air above the water and very well below water, underwater. They can keep flying from one medium, that's air, straight into and through another, a denser medium, water. Some are capable of diving deep, very deep, 60 to 70 meters in the case of some shearwaters. While seabirds are essentially marine creatures, as their name implies, they must come to land to breed. Here, Australasian gannets on a stack of the Mokohino Islands. They breed in the forest of Hauturu, Poor Knights Islands. But with many of our seabird islands, when you go ashore during the daytime, you sort of have to ask, well, where are they? Where are the seabirds? The exceptions, of course, are the gannet, shag, gull, and tern colonies, which are active day and night. But come nighttime, these islands are transformed. Most of our petrels and shearwaters are nocturnal over land. This is footage from Burgess Island in the Mokohino group. These are white-faced storm petrels coming in. There's some audio there. Yeah. The calls you can hear are mostly white-faced storm petrels. There are also grey-faced petrels there as well. On Hauturu, the activity can be deafening. You know, as the hours pass at night, these birds are coming in. On the island, there's the equivalent of Auckland's population in just Cook's petrels alone. This imperative to breed is the driving force that brings seabirds to land. And arguably the most difficult period for any seabird is their first year. A miracle period for many. And the next few slides will show you why. To illustrate this, I'll turn to a small 35-gram bird that literally skipped in from extinction in 2003. The New Zealand storm petrel. Our beginning is deep in forest, high on an island where a chick is hatched. After 2 months of being fed by its parents, bringing food in from the sea, it emerges from its burrow, recently fledged, a few bouts of stretching its wings over several nights. In this photograph, it's raining, so. And it's off, flying out through the forest, down a valley, and out to sea. a whole new world opens before it. And as far as we know, it's very much on its own. To survive, it not only has to find food, and that means the right type of food. It also has to be fit for purpose, and by that I mean it is strong and waterproof enough to survive at sea in all conditions. With each passing year, the bird's chances of survival increases. Raising chicks is a massive investment. To illustrate this, I'll turn to Raoul Island and the Kermadecks, an island the same size as Hauturu, halfway to Tonga. Like all petrels and shearwaters, this black-winged petrel raises a single chick. This is over several months. First, sharing incubation of the egg with its partner, and then sharing the feeding. A fair amount of patience comes into this. I think all parents can recognize. These parents depart the colony and travel hundreds, even thousands of kilometres to get food to feed both themselves and their chick. This map shows the tracking of 11 black-winged petrels from Raoul Island. You can see they headed in all directions. Great map, Matt. 2 foraging deep into the Tasman Sea, several well below the Chathams, well out to the east, and up amongst the Pacific Islands beyond Samoa. This is just during chick rearing. However, travelling big distances is not the case for all these birds, as you'll find out later, with shorter, more localised foraging for some. When you hold one of these birds, this is a fluttering shearwater from just the other week out at Tawhanui, one of the birds that we've been attracting in and are starting to breed there. You can't help but marvel at what lives they lead. Perfectly adapted across the realms of land, and yes, shearwaters and petrels can climb trees like this Buller's shearwater. In forests, they will climb trees to gain a platform from which to take off. Perfectly adapted across realms of sea, as we've seen. And of course, in air, as air-breathing creatures, many amazing in flight. Whoops. Their lives are not without peril. I was looking for the words on the screen. Some natural, as in this case. This is a mako shark. That's a flesh-footed shearwater. Their lives are not without peril. Oh, sorry. The most devastating threats currently are those that we humans have introduced. These are cat-killed petrels. The Rena disaster was a huge wake-up call for all of us. It was a catastrophe for seabirds, from albatrosses through shearwaters and diving petrels to little penguins like this one illustrated here. There were many, many birds that never washed up on beaches, were never found, never counted. A wake-up call? Well, you'd think so. But if you'd been following the news lately, the rotting wreck of the Niagara lying between the Mokohina Islands and the hen and chickens is potentially an even bigger disaster waiting to happen and needs to be properly investigated. And our fisheries also have a major impact in deep water and inshore, commercial, recreational. Serious stuff. When the debate about changing our nation's flag was in full swing, I gave a presentation at a seminar in Kaikoura, a farewell to the Hutton shearwaters that breed in the mountains there, and flagged the idea that maybe we should also change our national bird along with the flag. Okay, kiwi can be cute, but flightless, limited range. And change to something more representative of who we are and where we are, especially when you consider our place in the world, islands amidst the Southern Ocean, our liking for getting overseas. And suggested a seabird. At Kaikoura, it was a Hutton shearwater. Up this way, how about a titi or Cook's petrel, or taiko or black petrel? Down south, they might go for an albatross, but a seabird nevertheless. And as you can see in this photograph, it appears our defence forces are taking the idea on board, literally. But joking aside, let's face it, the label kiwi will be hard to shake. But I do believe seabirds, these remarkable creatures, demand our respect. That we must do our utmost to protect these treasured taonga through every stage of their lives. To protect the environments they inhabit and which we share. We're a nation with seabird riches like no other country. We must show the rest of the world that we care to actively lead in all areas of seabird conservation. There's no question that we do some things very well, but we need to step up right across the board. And that means having sufficient resources to undertake the research that underpins restoration work and informs conservation management of our islands and marine planning. I'd like to thank the many photographers for the use of their fabulous images. The Hauraki Golf Forum, to Tim Hyam, the Northern Seabird Trust, who employs me, our sponsors, who sit by the Department of Conservation, Forest and Bird, BirdLife International and Birds New Zealand, and in particular, the iwi and whose rohi we are privileged to work. Thank you.